And we are live, hopefully. Let's just see if I can find the stream. Just 1 second. Yes, there we go. We are live. Right, the Mind of Money. Nice to see you in. Who else do we have in? Is anybody going to speak? Anybody else going to say anything? Are you just going to sit in the sidelines and watch the show as I expose Rory for his lies and deceit? Okay, so we've got 8 watching at the moment. Pretty cool. How's it going, the Mind of Money? Good morning, Simi Kid Walker. Nice to see you in. I think I'm going to share my screens. Just 1 second. So I'm going to show you some emails that I've had in relation to this Rory fellow. And I suppose you guys can make your own minds up at it. Horizon Level, nice to see you in. Yes, all's well with me, apart from my rib was still giving me a bit of jip. Right, so let's start, shall we? Right, okay guys, so you knew that Rory put this £5,000 challenge out for anybody to disprove that the curve calculators don't include perspective. Well, I did a video yesterday or the day before, and essentially won the bet. You know, I proved that the curve calculators didn't include perspective. I'm going to show you how I managed to do that. I set a scenario up. I'm actually just going to use paint for this illustration right now. And here we have 2 images of Blackpool Tower. Now, obviously, we know the height of Blackpool Tower. We know the height of it at a certain distance. If you were looking over a curve, how much should be hidden by Earth curvature? So I set the scenario for Rory to answer this question. And basically it was this, that from a distance of 34 miles away, using high spring tide, etc., the camera being set to 6 feet, perfect weather conditions for standard refraction. So all the parameters were set for a calculation of just 3.2 feet of the tower to be seen. So let me show you how I've achieved, well, what it would look like. Let me take all this part of the bottom part of the tower away. So what I've done here is I've removed the part of the tower that in the globe model is hidden to Earth curve, right? So all that's gone, right? That's behind the bulge of water that's between my eyesight and the tower. And all we have left, if I zoom in, is the flagpole at the top. So obviously you can just make out the flagpole. Let me just try and highlight that a little bit or draw around it so that you can actually see. Let's do it in a different color and put it in a box. So there's the flagpole. Let's do it in black so that it stands out. And obviously here we have the pole itself. So there'd probably be even less than that was actually to be seen, actually. It essentially works out at 3.2 feet. Let me just put that in, 3.2 feet. So that's how much of the tower I should be able to see, given the parameters that I set to Rory. Now, I said that the curve calculators would show that as visible, and it's true. The curve calculators would say that from the parameters given, 3.2 feet would be visible, right? However, the inverse square law, which is a law, and obviously taking into consideration things like the diffraction limit of not just your eyeball, but cameras and such would mean that this angle, which I'll put its angle in here, is 0.001 degrees. So that is the angle with which I am trying to see this flagpole. Now, there isn't a camera, there is nothing on the earth, on the plane, that would be able to see that flagpole at that distance with this angle. This angle is too small to be seen, right? So I asked Rory, where in the calculators does this part show up? Because it's either visible or hidden. And I'm going to show you that now on some of the the curve calculators. So if we go to, let's go to Metabunks first. Obviously, if we come down here, we have a part that's visible, visible, and we have a part that's hidden. Nowhere do we have a part that says able to, well, geometrically able to be seen, but invisible to any kind of optics, right? So in other words, perspective. Perspective, you wouldn't see it due to perspective, right? So that's just using one. Let's use the, where's this other guy, this Bislin's one that they all harp on about. So here we got Walter Bislin's. Again, we have some, let me just scroll in here so that you can see. We have a visible part, which is over here, and we have a hidden part. Nowhere do we have a gray area that says the angle is too small that you can't see it, right? So when he set the challenge, and his challenge was very, very clear, it was, and I'll quote, because I've got it written down here, £5,000 on the table if you can prove that the curve calculators don't include perspective, right? That was the challenge. Very concise, very very to the point. So I think I've quite ably demonstrated that the curve calculators only show a hidden part and a visible part. There's no room for any kind of optical effect, i.e. perspective. There's no room for the diffraction limit of any kind of camera or your eye to be taken into account, because essentially you should see it. If you should see 3.2 feet at the top of the tower, right, you should be able to see it. But we don't have the technology to see that. We can't see it. So in effect, it is not resolvable. We cannot see that. So even though the calculator says it's visible, it isn't. It's hidden because we can't see it. Now then, going over to my emails, and this is golden. This is absolutely golden, because not only is this guy screaming, we've had some back and forth. We have had back and forth. This is absolutely golden. This is from Rory Miller. So obviously you can see that this is ref.rory@gmail.com. And he's responding to a series of emails that I've been going back and forth with him. And he's trying to squirm out of coughing up this £5,000 for this challenge that he set. The main point is in this particular part here, and it's absolutely golden, right? The curve calculator predicts that approximately 3.2 feet may be able to be seen if your measurements are correct. Well, they are correct. The parameters were correct. I was very selective in what I included, which was the viewer height, the weather conditions, the distances, the high spring tide, everything like that was all included to give a result that 3.2 feet of the tower should be able to be seen, right? So yes, I am correct, and the curve calculators do predict that. So he's agreeing with me on this. This is the best bit though. Of course, the curve calculator works on the basis of things like, right, are you ready for this, guys? The curve calculator works on this. Visibility. Lies. The curve calculators do not work on visibility. There isn't a single curve calculator out there that includes visibility as part of the model for the curve calculator. That is a bold-faced lie. It is wrong. And he's including this to just try and add more fluff to his squirming and lies. Okay, it does include standard refraction. Can it be proven? No, but it includes it. Accurate figures. Well, of course, it needs accurate figures to actually work upon giving you the result that you would be looking for. Finally, and this is the best part, and that the object you're looking at is big enough to be seen in the first place. Wow, that's our whole point. The curve calculators do not include this. There isn't a single citation on any of the curve calculators that take this into account, that the object you're looking at is big enough to be seen in the first place. That is our point. It doesn't include that. And I asked him for citations on that, and he has refused to give them because they don't exist. And I'm going to show you that they don't exist right now. This is obviously the Walter Bislins. We're looking for, and the reason I'm doing this right now is because I have a feeling that the Globers will perhaps start to change things again, just like they've started to include the angular size of things. But I'm looking for things like anywhere that it states that they take into account that things are too small to be seen, because that is our entire argument. That is the whole perspective argument that the Globers and the flat earthers have been having for the past 18 months, that there is no, in these curve calculators, there is nowhere that says that things are too small to be seen. And yet he is saying that they are, and they are not. So the reason I'm going to flick through these and just go up and down on them is so that we have a concise record as of the date today, which is 9:06 a.m. on the 17th of April, that nowhere on these curve calculators does it show anything that says they take into account angular size change over distance and things being too small to be seen. It doesn't happen. Metabunks 1, again, we have nothing here that says things are too small to be seen, and that's why things disappear. We don't have that. But yet he says here that they are. This is his arguments back to me for why he doesn't want to pay the £5,000. He agrees that the calculator should show that there's 3.2 feet to be able to be seen. But then he also says that the curve calculators take it into consideration that obviously things get smaller with distance, and then it obviously wouldn't be able to be seen in the first place. Well, that's my argument. That's my point of the video. My point of the video is that it doesn't show this. So here we go. This is me exposing him for his lies. We're looking for anywhere where it says that things get too small to be seen, that we can't see them. None of these curve calculators show that at all. It doesn't happen. Here we have another one. Just general geometry. That's all it is. It's just geometry. The shape of the Earth, add a bit of standard refraction in. That's it. Nowhere does it say things are too small to be seen. And let me remind you that this tower, this 3 foot of the tower that we would be seeing, having an angle of 0.001 is too small to be seen. So even though the curve calcs say you should be able to see it, you can't see it. The laws of perspective supersede the geometry of the curve calculator in this very argument. And what that means is that things, distance, will get too small to be seen. The bottom of things will disappear. And I was looking at the angular size calculator, and basically I was looking at what would be beneath 0.02 of a degree, at what distance, because that obviously won't be able to be seen by the majority of cameras that we have available at our disposal. So when we look at things like looking at Hoy Lake over to Blackpool Tower, when me and Anthony went there, and people were asking, we could see the tower, we could see all of the tower, and we could see, you know, right down to the heart and etc. But this area here, let me just put this area in here. Let's do it. Doesn't matter doing white. So effectively, all this area around about from here, that area and beneath, all that and beneath, would be too small to be seen. It would be in that 0.01 of a degree, too small to be seen. So we wouldn't have seen it anyway. We wouldn't have seen it anyway. Even if we could have seen it, we couldn't see it due to the laws of perspective. So it's a very interesting argument going forward. It's something that flat earthers really need to jump upon, because what this technically means is that you can look at, once you start looking at objects at 50, 60 miles away, you're going to be losing the top 100, 200 feet of those particular mountain ranges, objects, things like that, due simply to the laws of perspective. The Rayleigh criterion, all that kind of stuff that goes into formulating these calculations would mean that you can't see these. You just can't see them. So back on target, back onto the point. Rory's lying. He's trying to obfuscate. He's trying to tell us that the curve calculators include, no less than, it includes visibility. They don't include visibility, Rory. That's a lie. And that they don't include things that are too small to be seen in the first place. That's my point. That's our point. That's a flat earther's point. And I can't believe that he actually tried to squirm out of paying his £5,000. Basically, he sold the Globers down the river because they've been arguing all year against this point, against it. And here he is saying it in an email to try and squirm out of paying out the money that's owed to somebody that's taken him up on his challenge. Nobody asked him to set the challenge. He decided to take it to offer this money for somebody to disprove it. I have done that. I have proved that the curve calculators do not include perspective. And now he's trying to sell not only lies, but sell the Globers down the river, and saying that that the curve calculators take this into account in the first place, that things are too small to be seen. No, they do not. And if they did, it would be devastating to the globe argument. Absolutely devastating, because that would prove that things disappear from the bottom up. That is the whole point. That is why they will never include it. That is why they will never, ever acknowledge it. Because once you do that, it's game over. Because then everything that you look at over distance will have an area that you cannot see down at the bottom, the base of. So every time the Globers say, why can't you see the sands? Why can't you see the cars on the road? Why can't you see the trees? Because they are all too small. They are in that smallest of small angle. The angle is too small to be resolved by the camera, and you cannot see it. And they will never, ever acknowledge that any obstruction that isn't curvature, because that's the whole thing. Their argument is any obstruction is curvature. Our argument is that things can disappear due to perspective. So that's the whole point, Rory. So you're trying to sell your friends down the river by using a flat earth argument to try and nullify paying out this £5,000. And that's the whole point. The whole point is you're basically in this one paragraph here, you're basically agreeing with me. You're basically saying that I've won the bet. That is the point, Rory. Wow, that was a waffle. I'm sorry, guys, if I went on a bit of a rant there. I need to take a breath. Whew. Because I had to phone Anthony Riley this morning and ask him about this point. I sent him that particular quote that I've just been showing you, that particular sentence. And, you know, I mean, that's the whole point. The whole point is that that paragraph destroys the globe argument, if that were to be true. Because once he concedes that things disappear from the bottom up due to perspective, then it's game over for the globe. It really is. And that's the whole, that was the whole point of me actually addressing this one particular challenge, because there has been other people that have done challenges. They've set, you know, money aside for do this or do that. We've had Wolfie 60-20 doing stuff. I've never been interested in them, but this is personal to me simply because, you know, my entire channel is about perspective and looking at distant objects and trying to understand why things disappear from the bottom up, what's happening at the horizon and stuff like that. So when he set this challenge and he basically asked flat earthers to prove that the curve calculators don't include perspective, I was quite happy to look into that and do that. Rory's trying to sell his globe earth friends down the river. You've seen that in the email. He's very dishonest. He's wiggling. He's trying to squirm out of this, and there is no squirm. There's no, you can't squirm out of it. The angle is too small to be seen in the scenario that I set. In fact, I could have gone further, and I could have probably gone to 10 feet or 15 feet or even 20 feet at the top of the tower. Again, it would have been too small to have been seen. But for the argument of the actual, just making sure that I was very concise with the victory, I decided to lower it down to 3.2 feet because it's impossible for him to argue that case, and it's a wrap for flat Earth. There, it's a wrap. Right, okay, guys. So let's do some shout outs. Who have we got? No, we've got Gleam here. So don't worry, he ain't going to pay anyone. He is a liar, and he's in it for the views. He's doing Rory's life story as if he has made something. Well, yes, I can probably agree with that. Most Globers, in fact, I don't think any Glober has ever paid out on any challenge or anything like that at all, ever. So even though he was quite sincere when he said that, oh yes, well, I will pay it, I will pay it, and he was very clear that he would pay it. You're quite right, Gleam. He isn't going to pay it, even though it's a slam dunk. It genuinely is a slam dunk. The curve calculators don't include perspective. They don't include things getting smaller with distance, which was his point here, which is basically saying that the curve calculators take this into account. Obviously, it's got to be big enough to be seen in the first place. The globe, the curve calculators don't include that. That's our point. That's our point. And no, they don't take into account visibility either. So like you say, so you've essentially given up the ghost here. Yeah, 3.2 feet should be seen. You're saying that the curve calculators say that we should be able to see it in the first place if it's big enough to be seen. They don't. In which case, you lose. You've lost. It's game over. You need to pay up. And then we'll take everyone out for a beer. Anyone that wants to meet up in Manchester, I'll take you all out for a night out. How's that? We'll go and arrange a night out. We'll get pissed together. So anybody in and around Manchester, half a dozen of you, get a dozen of you. We'll all go out and we'll get absolutely wasted on Rory's money. How's that? Sound good? If you're in on it, send me an email. And as soon as he's paid up, we'll arrange it. Right, let's do some shout outs. Who have we got in? The Mind of Manny, you were the first. Simmy Kid Walker, her eyes on a level. Rose Tinted Monocle, Little Duck. It's the first time I've seen you in. I don't recall seeing you in before. Dave Hinkle, nice to see you in. Individual One. The Man Who Loved the Flat Earth. Pay up, Rory. Yes, pay up, Rory. Indeed. Cosmic Surfer, hello. Roger MC. Gleam. Sleeping Warrior. The guy is just trying to grow his channel, dude. Yes, well, what do you want me to say? He's trying to grow his channel, but he's trying to grow it by offering things that he's never going to honor. You know, you grow a channel being an honorable person. Well, I've grown my channel on being an honorable person. Maybe it's the wrong way. Maybe being dishonest is the way to grow your channel. So it seems, if you look at the Globers and how they act and they grow their channel, maybe dishonest is the way to go. Let's see, who else do we have in? Roger MC, Dave Hinkle Voynich. Take on Rory, take him out. Loving that. Cannot stand that arrogant punk. No, He's refusing. I've basically had at least 10 back and forth with him on his emails. He's still refusing to accept the fact that the challenge has been met and won, even though it's absolutely clear as crystal clear that it has been won. The laws of perspective supersede any curve calculator. The laws of perspective are laws, and they say that, well, including the inverse square law, that things get so small that you cannot see them, right? Even though the curve calculator says you can see it, you cannot physically see it. Ebon Kim, nice to see you in. No, he never sleeps. He doesn't sleep. Who else have we got in? Cat's Eyes, nice to see you in. I've seen you in for a while, actually. Message retracted, damn, missed what you said. Jonathan Doherty, nice to see you in. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anders Ace, nice to see you in. You never sleep, mate. You never sleep. You seem to be on every single flat. You like me. Every time I look at a live stream, you're there, mate. And quite often you've got a wrench too, so all good. Russ McCrory, nice to see you in. Morning to you as well. Paige, nice to see you in. On another point, we've got Slice Barcane doing his experiment this weekend. So he says, and what's quite amusing is I watched his live stream when he said that he'd been building all this these pipes and such, and in his original mission statement, he was going to put everything up on the same day, and he was going to work it all out, and he was going to be able to complete the test in just one day. It now transpires that even though I offered him this advice and said, you're not going to be able to do it in a day, and he basically said, nah, I'll be able to do it in a day, and he just dismissed the numerous different reasons as to why this could fail. It now transpires that he's going to put all the piping in on day one, fill it up with water, and then return the following day to complete the experiment. So there we go. The first point of the entire response to him, which would be that you cannot complete this in a day. It's too much work to complete in one day. You won't be able to do it. He now agrees with me. He now agrees that, yes, he can't do it in one day. Well, what do you know? What do you know? What about all the other stuff that we said as well? So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see how it goes on. Who else do we got in? Soccer Count. Why does anyone need a curve calculator? Well, flat earthers don't need a curve calculator. The globe earthers need a curve calculator. Let's see. Lungmigo. Also, what size in feet corresponds to an angular size of 0.204 degrees at 34 miles? Well, let's have a look, shall we? What was that? 0.20. Well, let's see if I can find where I've got my calculator. Oh, here we go. Angular size. So what we're looking at, 0.204. At what distance did he say? 29 miles. Was it 29 miles? Oh, at 34 miles. Okay. So, so put 34 miles in. There we go. So that's the meters. So if we copy that, and we go to the angular size calculator, and then we look for angle, we change the distance to that. And then, so obviously we're doing this in meters. Did he say he wanted it in meters or feet? In feet, right, okay, typical. Well, let's work it out first in meters. Let's calculate that. Let's increase that more to 25. Let's see that calculate it. So it's going to be less than that. Let's do it to 20. Calculate. 0.20942. Was that what I asked? 2453. 2453 is going to be slightly less, so do 19.8. 19.5. That's close enough. That's close enough. So 19.5 meters. So let's do meters to feet. 19.5. Okay, so basically 64 feet, 63.9 feet, 64 feet. So in answer to your question, 64 feet. Was there a reason that you actually wanted me to do that for you? I mean, I'm happy to have done it, but can you tell me the reasons as to why you wanted that? Right, made a mistake. It's not 0.2, it's 0.02. Okay, sorry. Let's have another bash at this then. 0.02, that's correct, yeah, 0.02. So 19.5, 0.0204. So I already did that. I already assumed that you were going to do, that's what you meant. So 0.02, yeah. So 64 feet, not 640 feet, 64 feet. Yes, it's not 0.2, it's 0.0. Do you want to zoom in so that you can see this? There we go. So there's the result, there's the angle, there's the degrees that were given, 0.02. There we go. So it's not 0.2, it's 0.02. So over a distance of 54,717.7 meters, trying to look at an object 64 foot high or 19.5 meters in height, the angle would be 0.02 degrees. So if we're looking at 0.02, essentially anything under 64 feet, you wouldn't see. You wouldn't be able to see it. So that's a very important point too. So I could have included anything lower. Essentially, I could have gone down to 50 feet, 40 feet, 30 feet. I decided to do 3.2 because it really is, for him anyway, impossible to argue that you could see that. Right. Right, I'm getting confused here, guys. You want me to figure it out to 0.2? Right. Let me do it to 0.2 then. Let me do it to 50 meters. 100 meters. 200 meters. 190. 94. 191. 191 meters is 0.2 degrees. Let's do meters to feet. 191. 626 feet, essentially 626.6 feet to get a 0.2. Individual one, Rory is a joke. Yes, he is. He is a joke, and he needs to pay up. He's basically agreed. Well, he's saying that the curve calculators include a part in their calculator that says if an object is too small to be seen, they already take that into account. They already assume that, and they've taken that into account. That is all. That is horse manure. It doesn't happen. I can show you the email part where he says that. Here it is. It's from Rory Miller. Here he's got his email. This is ace. I just love exposing these guys. He says that, of course, so let me highlight this part. Of course, the curve calculator works on the basis of things like, right? Then he goes into visibility, which is wrong. Standard diffraction, accurate figures, right? So we can get rid of that, forget that for now, because this is still a continuation because he's put a comma after accurate figures. So we can read it as such. Of course, the curve calculator works on the basis of things like the object you're looking at is big enough to be seen in the first place, right? This is what he says the curve calculators take into account. Has anybody ever read such bullshit? This is him trying to get out of pain. Nice to see you, Arwin. Clowns never pay up unless you grab them by the ankles and shake money out of them. Well, if he pays up, Arwin, I'm going to pay for your flight to come over to Manchester. I'll put you up for a couple of nights in Manchester and we'll go out on the town. Me, you, Sleeping Warrior, a few other people will go out, we'll get pissed for a couple of nights and we'll spunk the money on a flat earth meetup. So, you know, you've got a part in this now, you've got a stake in this. When he pays, that's what's going to happen. So you need to get onto him as well, as does every other flat earther right now listening. Yes, really, Arwin. If he pays the £5,000, I'm going to buy you flight tickets over, put you up for a couple of nights. All the other flat earthers that want to meet up locally in and around Manchester or take a drive and just turn up and meet up, I'll buy his drinks all night on his money. Because this is a victory for flat earth. When he pays, yes, when he pays. Because I'm going to keep at this. I'm going to keep at this. Rude Earther, nice to see you in. No, we don't want to report his channel because then he'll lose his channel and I won't get paid. What we want to do is put pressure on him and his Globe Earth friends to expose him for failing to pay when somebody's actually completed his challenge. Well, his channel isn't going to grow if he's under pressure, is it? Because essentially, if he's going to lie about this, who's going to ever trust him in the future? Yeah, he probably will, Paige. He probably will just disappear before doing that. But that's a win for Flat Earth anyway, because we don't need people like that in the discussion. Because essentially, he's not bringing anything to. Let's have a look at his channel. Let's have a look at his channel. Rory Flat Earth. Let's have a look at his channel. We'll just have a look at the type of videos that he puts out, shall we? Let's just have a look. Meme talk, gender and sex. Okay. Crikey knows what all this stuff is. Rory's Flat Earth gamble. He's trying to say that Mark Sargent quits Flat Earth, so he's spreading fake news. Again, he's putting something out that's untrue. Mark Sargent hasn't quit Flat Earth. Let's see what else he's putting out. Let's sort of see some of the rubbish that he's putting out. Shill life, back on the road and hiking. So essentially, he's admitting here that he's actually a shill. Again, he's a shill as well. What does Eric Dubay actually believe? So again, he's spreading rumors about Eric Dubay. Tales from the diffraction zone. So he obviously doesn't believe that the diffraction zone is a real phenomenon. It's a real thing that can be demonstrated optically. There is a limit to every camera. So again, he's putting out more bullshit against flat earthers. Who needs this guy? To be honest, he's just spreading bullshit. It's just lies. So all he's doing, spreading lies. Flat Earther bets me his channel. And to be honest, I believe that the Flat Earther that challenged him actually won it. So, I might be wrong. Might be wrong, but that's what I heard. Again, he's still got the video up. He doesn't really care. When Nathan Oakley slapped his daughter real hard, audio enhanced. I mean, listen, That didn't happen. You know, Nathan showed me and told me the thing that actually happened. The child stood on a toy that made a noise, and I'm not going to go into details to what it was because he doesn't want me to explain it. So I've never really spoken about it prior to this, but let me just assure you that when you understand that that is, you know, what the child stood on sounded just like the noise that was heard on the audio, you'll realize that Nathan was telling the truth. He didn't slap his daughter. So again, it's just spreading. All this channel is just a smear channel to smear flat earthers. If you look at his entire channel, that's all it is. So he's put a challenge out, £5,000. It's been met. You know, he's not willing to honour that. And you just need to look at him to see that he's not prepared to honour it. You can tell that. Nathan Oakley is proud of his toys with what appears to be a dildo there. I mean, how old would you say this guy is? What, in his late 40s, early 50s? And what we have here is, you know, some kind of sex toy next to Nathan. I mean, this is the mentality of these people, you know. But we're in this for a serious debate. We're not in this for lies smear. I mean, if he loses his channel, who gives a shit? Literally, who gives a shit? He doesn't offer anything. He's not providing any proofs for the globe. He's doing nothing. Don't need him. Oh, and did Greater Sapien pay $20,000? I believe that Greater Sapien got $20,000 from his subscribers. He was supposed to have paid to go on this, you know, flight, round the world flight or something. And as far as I know, he says that he paid, he gave the entire $20,000 to the company, even though he provided no evidence that he'd actually paid the entire amount at all, and didn't repay a single penny to his subscribers. So make of that what you will. Okay, so the angular size calcs appear on the Metabunk curve calculator in your video. The angular size calcs. Well, let me just tell you a little something about what you've just said there. The angular size calcs appear, but they don't appear in relation to the size of the objects that you're trying to look at. So let me get that quite straight. And also, let me put something else in. Let me just put something else in here. Wayback Machine. Where's the Metabunk curve calculator? Let me just show you this. Metabunk's curve calculator. So I don't know who you are, by the way. Who was it who said it? Lung Mingo. I'm assuming that you're a Glober, by the way. So let me just show you something right here and right now. So if I put that in there and I browse the history of this metabunk.org curve calculator, and what we're going to look at is the dates in March, because there is no screenshots of the April, which we're in now. So we're in April. However, Rory set the challenge on the 22nd of March. About perspective, right? That's the date that he said it. And as you can see, there's two dates here that has been screen captured by the Wayback Machine. So if we look at 4 days after the challenge was set, and we'll look at how the Metabunk curve calculator looked on that day, what you can see is that, obviously this is the screen capture, we do have pure angular size results, right? We see that on the 26th, right? However, let's go back and let's look at the 9th, bearing in mind that on the 22nd was the date that Rory put the video out. So prior to this, let's look at what it looked like on the 9th, shall we? Oh, 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 we have geometric results, and underneath geometric results, we have nothing. We have no angular size of anything put in there. This is a very recent addition, presumably after the 22nd. Impossible to prove, to be honest, impossible to prove for certain. However, on the 9th of March, there was no angular size put in. On the 26th of March, there was. And Rory put his video out on the 22nd. But again, let me assure you that this angular size means absolutely nothing in regards to the challenge as to what can and cannot be seen at a certain distance. You cannot input, there is nowhere in here to put the height of an object that you are trying to see, and there is nowhere as a result of the angle being too small to be seen. That isn't there. So again, you fail. Your argument is fallacious. So apparently he did it on the 21st. I can't deny that. I cannot say one way or another. What I can say is that on the 9th, he didn't include it. On the 26th that it did. And on the 22nd, Rory put his challenge out. And also, like I say, it doesn't take it into account. It doesn't change the fact that it doesn't include the inverse square law of an object that you're trying to see in the distance. In other words, 3.2 feet of the top of Blackpool Tower, that is not in this. That is not in here at all. This doesn't work for that particular purpose. We have a visible and we have a hidden. We don't have a grey area that is too small to be resolved. And somebody asked me to do a calculation for or the angular size calculator over distance to find something that was 0.2 degrees. We figured out that that would be 600 and odd feet. However, to get it down to 0.2, I believe it was 19.5 meters at a distance of 34 miles. So to get it down to 0.02, which is essentially the diffraction limit, essentially we're looking at about 64 feet or thereabouts over the distance of 34 miles that would be obscured from the bottom up. So let me go back to this image here. So let's just get rid of a few of the things on here. I have two Blackpool Towers on here. Let's get rid of that. What we're saying here, if this is with the, if we were trying to see Blackpool Tower from 34 miles away, 64 feet, would not be able to. Why can't I? There we go. 64 feet. Let's do it to that. So that's around about 2/3 of the tower ballroom. 2/3 of the tower ballroom would be hidden because it couldn't be seen by the camera. It would be in too small a viewing angle to be seen. It wouldn't be able to be seen. Even if you had a direct line of sight, if you had a direct line of sight to Blackpool Tower over 34 miles away, there is 2/3 of the tower ballroom, or 64 feet, that would be in that 0.02 of a degree too small to be seen. Right? The camera wouldn't be able to see it. So things disappearing from the bottom up due to perspective. And the perspective being that our optics and the inverse square law about things getting smaller over distance, the diffraction limit of the cameras, and any kind of optical device would mean that this amount right there of the tower ballroom would be invisible to be seen. Even though we could probably see it direct line of sight if we had bionic eyes, if we had Superman eyes, we'd be able to see it. But we live in a world where we have limits. We have limits on all kinds of different things. We have laws. laws of perspective. And in this case, this laws of perspective would mean that 64 feet or 2/3 of the tower ballroom would be lost forever due to the diffraction limit of the optical device that you're trying to see the tower at. Just gone. Wouldn't be able to see it. And that will apply to all kinds of different things. You extend that, you go to twice the distance. Well, let's see. Rather than speculate, let's see if we can see at what distance. So 54,717. So let's go to, let's just try 110,000, which is just over double. So that would be essentially closing in on, let's say, 69 miles. So let's put in 39 meters and calculate that. And there we have it. Yeah, perfect. The inverse square law works fine. 0.02 degrees. So a distance of 69 miles, right? We would have lost 39 meters to the diffraction limit. So let's work that out in meters to feet. Let's go to 39 meters. So 127.9. So let's say 128 feet. 128 feet over 69 miles would be lost to the diffraction limit. We wouldn't be able to see it. So all those people saying, why don't you see the shore? Why don't you see the sand? Why don't you see cars driving along the seafront? You know, if you've got, you know, why don't we see that? It's because we cannot physically see it. Our eyes, our optics aren't good enough. We cannot see it. Game over. Things disappear from the bottom up. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for stopping by. Anybody else I've not done a shout out, do? Oh, we've got a divergent droid. So the calculator doesn't take into account angular resolution of the human eye, nor can they use standard refraction because it's a joke, as you can see by the Skunk Bay video. Right, okay, well, yeah, that's true. The Skunk Bay video and standard refraction, as we know it, is bullshit, but it certainly doesn't take in the angular resolution of the human eye. So in other words, they don't take into account perspective. Whereas Rory, in his email to me, says that the curve calculator takes into account that the object you're looking at is actually big enough to be seen in the first place. What a joke! What a joke! He actually believes that the curve calculators presume or presuppose that the objects you're looking at, they take this into account. They already know that there's a limit to things getting smaller in the distance, and they take this into account. What a liar! What a liar! That doesn't happen. Guys, take a screenshot of this. Literally, right now, take a screenshot of this. I'm going to leave it up for 30 seconds just to give you time to press F12 or print screen or whatever it is that you use to take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of this from Rory Miller. And the main thing you need to focus upon is this section here that says number 1. This is his entire argument. This is what he believes the curve calculators do. He believes that the curve calculator includes visibility, takes visibility into account. No, it doesn't. It doesn't say what was the visibility day like on a certain day. Was the fog in the air? Was it raining? Was it cloudy? Was the low cloud cover? Was it misty? Show me on the curve calculators where it takes into account visibility. Show me where it says, was it smoggy today? How far could you see today? Could you only see 6 miles today? How come you couldn't see the wind turbines today that are only 12 miles away when you can normally see them at any time? How come you can't see them today? What was the visibility like? Does it say that? No, it doesn't. It doesn't include visibility, you mong. And it also doesn't assume and take into account that the thing that you're looking at is big enough to be seen in the first place. Wrong again. That's our argument. Our argument is that it doesn't include that. You mong. So take a screenshot, guys. Take a screenshot, and you can quote him. You know, Nathan started this quote. Rory, Simon Dan quotes, Conspiracy Cat quote, all that kind of stuff. You know, take a screenshot of this and you quote him on this. Rory, 2019. The curve calculators work on the basis of things like visibility. Of course they do. What a mong, right? Or quote him on that the objects that you're looking at is big enough to be seen in the first place. Yeah, of course the curve calculators take that into account. Oh, quote. Funny. Oh, all this to try and get out of paying. All this to try and get out of paying. What a donkey. Selling his friends down the river. Right, what's Gleam said? Even Walter Bislin has admitted his models do not do visibility. Of course, yeah, of course. Nice to see flat accord music. I'm just about to wrap this up, but you can play it back. It's been enjoyable exposing this guy, this fraud, this Rory guy. Right, okay, right. So guys, yeah, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I know it's early in the morning, and I'm going to wrap it up now. How long have I been going? I've been going nearly an hour. I'll tell you what, let me just make it over the hour mark. I think I'll just keep going just till it's just over the hour mark. I like to have an hour video. Our videos are good. Sorry, see, right, you've given some screenshots here, some links here, Gleam. Is there something I showed info? Right, okay, so I'm going to assume that this is part of let's see. All right, so this is talking about the weather conditions, yeah, and how he doesn't actually include it with actual weather conditions, I would assume. Right, okay. Chief Brody, you have as much chance of these globe dolts paying up as finding a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. Well, true. Going back to Rory here, he puts, where's the challenge? Where is the actual video? I might post the link. I hope he's still got it up actually. Where's this £5,000? Where is it? Right, there's the 1,000. Oh, here we go. Here's the £5,000. Right, so I'm going to pause it on that. So if you guys want to just head on over there and leave him a little message, I've left him a message. So if you guys want to head on over there and leave him a little message, ask him to pay up, that would be cool. So I'm going to send the link there. Be interesting to see what he comes back with again. You have to search. I couldn't find it either. Right, again, yeah, they don't include it, guys. They don't include perspective, and that's the whole point. He's trying to say that they do. He's trying to say that it includes visibility, and that it also includes that they also take into account that things get smaller in the distance, which is basically the perspective. If we look at perspective on the Cambridge English Dictionary, what we have here is we have perspective, the way that objects appear smaller when they're further away, and the parallel lines appear to meet each other at a point in the distance. Yeah, that's perspective. The most important part here is the first part, the way that objects appear smaller when they are further away. Because obviously that is perspective. That's our whole argument. Things appear smaller when they're further away. So when he set the challenge and he said, let me quote him so that I don't misrepresent him, £5,000 on the table if you can prove that the curve calculators don't include perspective. So the first point is to figure out what is perspective. Well, perspective is the way that objects appear smaller when they are further away. In other words, the inverse square law. At some point, things will become so small and such a narrow angle that they will be invisible or unable to be seen. So that's addressing his argument as to the word perspective. Now we need to just apply that into the curve calculators. Do the curve calculators include this inverse square law of things getting smaller in the distance? Do they? Well, no, they don't. He's now trying to say that they do. He's now trying to say that they do with this particular sentence here. Obviously, that's bullshit. If we look through the curve calculators, never, ever in these curve calculators does it say that things get too small to be seen. In actual fact, what they actually say is there's a hidden value and a visible. It doesn't say that there's a grey area where it is too small. And just going back to that point here, this angular size calculator where I put in a distance of 69 miles with trying to view something 39 meters tall, again, too small to be seen. So we're looking at an object here of 127 feet. So let's say a small hotel. So there's a small hotel with a direct line of sight 69 miles away. We can't see it, right? But in the curve calculators, it says it would be visible. So it would say up here, 169 feet visible, still be able to be seen. We don't see it because we cannot see it. The inverse square law is not being applied in the curve calculators. He is wrong. The curve calculators don't include perspective. They don't include the way that objects appear smaller when they are further away. He loses, flat earth wins. And with him saying this, he's basically trying to say our argument. And if any globe earther ever agrees to this particular sentence, ever, it's literally game over for the globe, because they can't have that, because that is obstruction that isn't earth curve. That is obstruction due to perspective, and they can't have that at all. They won't have it. They won't acknowledge it. They will fight tooth and nail to deny this exact sentence. They won't have it. But we know it happens. They refuse to acknowledge it. He's now acknowledging it, trying to get out of paying the £5,000. Sorry, £5,000. Right, guys. I've managed it. Done the hour. Lovely jubbly. Nathan Oakley, Rory, you are one seriously stupid idiot. Why would anybody bet that a geometric calculator has perspective? What a wanker. Well said. Well said. Right. Not perspective. Right. Okay. Right. Listen, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I appreciate every one of you for stopping by. It's just been an update as to what's been going on, exposing this guy. I'll send you the link again for the video that he puts the £5,000 challenge out. Come over, you know, leave him a message, say what you want to say to him, and let's see whether or not we can actually get this guy to actually pay up, you know, or, you know, if he doesn't want to pay up, at least retract and make a groveling apology to all flat earthers. Right, guys, I'm going to knock it on the head. Thanks for stopping by, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.